Stocks are down this month, and most people think it's because of the war in Iran. But there is a much bigger force at play. Wall Street is heading straight into a policy collision. On one side, you have inflation that is starting to rise again. And on the other side, you have enormous pressure for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. And when those two forces collide, the market doesn't like it. And anytime investors are unsure about the future, their default action is to sell. Thanks to the Iran situation, gas prices just jumped from $2.94 to $3.58. Diesel is up 33% year over year. And this is likely just the beginning. Today, I want to explain what that means for the stock market and highlight some stocks and sectors that historically do well under these very conditions. Now, Trump is pushing for rate cuts, and he wants it done now. Let's look at the numbers from the last CPI report that just came out and figure out the cause and effect of cutting versus not cutting interest rates. Now, the CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, that inflation report was released this last week, and it gives us an important snapshot of where things stand. Just keep in mind, this report covers February because it does lag by a month, which means it does not yet reflect the higher energy prices we're seeing here in March, which needs to be factored in. Now, for February, CPI inflation rose at a pace of 2.4%, which came in exactly in line with market expectations. Core inflation came in at 2.5%. Now, before we go any further, just to be very clear about this, I don't put a lot of faith in the reliability or the precision of these government numbers. But here's the thing investors need to understand. Whether you fully trust these numbers or not almost doesn't matter because the federal government and the Federal Reserve make decisions based on this narrative. The story that CPI tells is what policymakers are responding to. And so for that reason, we need to pay attention to it. Now, the good news is this. We have actually made a lot of progress since inflation peaked back in 2022. I'll be the first to admit that the pace of inflation has slowed down substantially, and that's largely because interest rates are no longer sitting at damn near 0%. The Federal Reserve has slowed down the pace of its money printing. That's how we've arrived at this 2.4% inflation rate today. But there's a very important distinction that I think a lot of people don't realize. And they hear that inflation is coming down, and they think that means prices are coming down. That's not true. Lower inflation just means prices are not rising as fast as they were before. They're never going to go down. Now, another important point is that 2.4% is simply the overall average across the CPI calculation. The Federal Reserve's official target is 2% inflation. That's the number they're trying to reach. Where'd they get that from? Literally pulled it out of thin air. It should be 0, but they love to print money. Now, by the way, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That way these videos will continue to show up in your feed. And if you're interested in the financial markets, if you're ready to start trading stocks and want to learn what to look for at a time your buys and your sells, I invite you to join my Black Ops Trading Club. It's only $5, and you'll get live 1-hour weekly mentoring sessions with me and my other members, my weekly newsletter, bonus reports, and a bunch more. So click the link in the description or go to tradewithross.com to get signed up. You can even scan this QR code here on the screen. But when we dive deeper into this inflation report, you're going to notice something interesting. 7 out of the 10 CPI components are actually rising faster than that 2% target, as you see here on this image. In some cases, they're rising much faster, and we're ever so conveniently left off this image. For example, daycare costs are up 3.7%. Furniture's up 3.9%. Food outside the home's up 3.9%. Medical care is 4.1% higher. Airfares increased 7.1%. Then you get into some categories that are rising dramatically. Candy's up 11.6%. So you're a sweet tooth, that's going to cost you. Beef prices are up 14.4%. Oh, for the love of steak. And home health care, 15% higher. So even though the headline number says 2.4%, a lot of the things people actually spend money on are increasing much faster than that. Now, there's one more factor worth mentioning, The overall CPI number is currently being artificially suppressed because of the lingering effects of the prior government shutdown, which has caused housing inflation to appear lower than it actually is. And on top of that, we already know what may be coming in the next report because of energy prices. The March CPI report, which will be released next month, is very likely to reflect the surge we're seeing right now in fuel prices. I mean, just look at gasoline. As of Friday in the United States, the national average for a gallon of gas is $3.58. A week ago, it was $3.20. And a month ago, in February, it was $2.94. When you look at it year over year, gasoline prices are now 16% higher than they were last year. But that number, or the one that really matters for the broader economy, is diesel fuel. Because diesel powers the machinery that keeps the economy running. It fuels farm equipment, shipping trucks, construction machinery, and transportation networks. When diesel prices rise, these costs eventually ripple through the entire system. Right now, diesel is $4.83 per gallon. Last month, it was $3.67. Last year, it was $3.63. And so if we compare February year over year, it was basically flat. But if you compare today versus last year, diesel prices are now 33% higher year over year. And this is where timing becomes important because businesses don't immediately pass these higher costs on to consumers. It takes time for these costs to work their way through the system. So even if inflation starts moving higher in March, the full effect will not show up until April, when businesses begin pushing those higher costs down the supply chain. And if the situation in the Gulf continues, those pressures could persist even longer. And so this is where this policy collision really begins to matter. If inflation starts rising again, which we all know it is, it becomes more difficult for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates because rate cuts are inflationary. When you cut rates, people borrow more, they spend more, that pushes prices up. But at the same time, there is enormous pressure for rates to come down to save the labor market. So let's take a look at what the market is expecting using the CME FedWatch tool. Now, the next Federal Reserve meeting will take place on March 18th, which is this coming Wednesday. Even before the CPI report was released, the market already believed there would be no rate cut at that meeting. 99.4% probability rates will be unchanged. After the CPI report came out, number didn't change at all. So the expectation is crystal clear. No rate cut in March. The next meeting takes place on April 29th. Again, before the CPI report, market put 87.1% chance, no rate cut in April. After the report, again, they barely moved, 87.1% to 87.3%. But the meeting investors are really focused on is June. That's the big one, because that's when the leadership at the Federal Reserve is going to change. Jerome Powell's term as Fed chair is ending. 0% chance Trump brings him back. In fact, Trump has handpicked his replacement, Kevin Warsh. He will be taking over. Now, before the CPI report, there's about a 60% probability that the Federal Reserve would not cut interest rates in June. After that report came out, the odds went even higher. It's about 63.9%. But the situation right now is extremely tricky because if energy prices keep rising and inflation keeps moving higher in March and April and May, it's extremely difficult for the Federal Reserve to justify cutting interest rates when they're just looking at this raw data. Even though Trump chose a successor he thought would quickly and aggressively slash those rates. But even in the face of rising inflation, I'm not ruling out a rate cut because policymakers, politicians can always find ways to justify it. They can argue inflation is transitory. That was a famous one, even if people are skeptical of that explanation. Or they could point to the Federal Reserve's dual mandate, arguing that a weakening labor market requires lower rates. And most people, when choosing between losing their job and high inflation, will grudgingly pick inflation. And there are real pressures building across the economy right now. Commercial real estate is under strain. Banks are holding bond portfolios that are deep underwater. The federal government is set to pay $1 trillion in interest expenses this year on money we borrowed decades ago. So lower interest rates would relieve some of that pressure across many of these areas. At the same time, the labor market, as I said, is weakening, which adds another layer of complexity to the situation. But as I like to say, there's always a bull market somewhere. If we go back to 2022, when the stock market was in free fall, thanks to that 7.5% inflation and soaring interest rates, energy stocks actually went up because energy companies tend to benefit from this inflation. Other sectors like real estate, consumer staples, and commodities also do well. Inflation makes everything more expensive. So if you mine, drill, or produce a commodity like oil or steel or copper, that means your profits are going to increase. Same thing with real estate. When prices rise, so does the value of the holdings of these real estate investment trusts. Consumer staples, on the other hand, have pricing power. I don't care how bad the economy is. You're not going to stop brushing your teeth. You're not going to stop washing your hair. So Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble, they quickly adjust their prices as inflation climbs. So their bottom line is typically not impacted, and investors rush to these stocks. So to wrap this up, what we're really looking at right now is a very delicate balance. Inflation pressures remain in the system. Economic growth is slowing, and parts of the financial system are under strain. And that combination creates the risk of what economists call stagflation, which is a mix of rising inflation, slowing growth, and high unemployment. In other words, everything gets more expensive, but nobody's making any more money. It's a challenging environment. We haven't seen this in decades. But for investors who stay informed and understand what's happening beneath the surface, these moments can also create some of the most powerful opportunities in the market. Again, if you want to learn how to use information like this, how to follow institutional money, and identify areas of the market you should be looking at when news happens or situations arise, click the link in the description, scan the QR code, or go to tradewithross.com to join my Black Ops trading service for just $5. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next one. I'll see you in the next video.